Okay, today I just wanted to go over the LS engine builds. I mean, it doesn't matter if you have a 4.8 or a 454 LSX, it's all going to be pretty much the same crap. As far as connecting rods go, obviously people love stock rods if they're Generation 4. They make really good stuff. The H beam and I beams definitely have their place over top the stock rods. And I think just a lot of people, I don't know, I think HBeam gets a bad name. I think HBeam makes a decent rod for, what it does, and then I-beam has their place, or I should be saying super beam, because the stock rods are an I-beam. I mean, yes, you can buy other I-beams. Um, it's still an I-beam. I guess it's a super I-beam if you want to be technical about it. But we're just going to hop on Texas Speed site here. This is just their H-beam 6125 rod. They do have L19 rod bolts rated for 900 flywheel horsepower, and then there's the Lenattis. And then they have, like I said, the super I-beams. And they have two different versions of these. They have all these are surely made out of 4032 material, but they have a billet ones. I guess they're made out of billet metal, and these are made out of just regular 4340 or some shit. But anyways, everybody's been talking about the I beams are the way to go. Super beams, whatever you want to call them. And they claim, like I said, 900 to 1200 flywheel horsepower for $900. It's a pretty good deal, you know. Um, but when do you need an IH beam or a super beam? Probably, if your car is under 3,500, 4,000 pounds, can probably, be fine at 1,000 horsepower. Tons of guys made tons of power on stock rods. Anything over that, then you might want to start looking in for an I beam. And if you want reliability, I probably wouldn't use a stock rod. Trying to make 1,000 horsepower consistently for years on end. Um, Anyways, there's a company called Molnar, and this is the company that I like for connecting rods. And I will show you here why in a second. Um, if you go down here, obviously they make crankshafts too. I could go over the crank stuff right now. They make these built or 4340 cranks, and the standard stroke, which is 5.3 through 6.2, and then they make them in the old school like 33 stroker style strokes, and then 3.9, 4.0, 4.1, and then the 4.250. But they're all the same price. They do make some really fancy stuff, the counterweighted billet for 26, but I probably wouldn't get into that stuff unless you're trying to make 2,000 plus horsepower. Um, so go back up to connecting rods, and we'll go to domestic Chevy. Scroll down to LS series. Okay, so the big thing to note here is the gram weight. So if you have a naturally aspirated engine, it's better to have um, less weight because you're moving that rod around as fast as possible, and less weight's going to keep the thing together longer. So when you have more weight, it puts more weight on there, puts more stress on there, but it's a stronger rod. These are the Power Adder Plus. This is just the standard rod, and then we have, the Power Adder, and then the Power Adder Plus. So there's three variants. LS Power Adder Plus rods are 737 grams. These prices, you can find better prices online, and mostly when I'm looking for this stuff, I go right here to Powell Machine's website. This guy's pretty smart. He's a machinist. He's done a lot of stuff online for a while now, and where he's at, I don't even think there's taxes on this. So if you buy these rods, you'll get them and these are the power adders for 650. When online here they want, 760 or 820, depending on your rod length and what's going on. Anyways, obviously there's other rods, Texas Speed, H-beams, there's Eagles, there's Scats, there's, Lunati, on and on. But if I was going to buy a rod for price range that I knew was going to be a good one, it'd be this or a K1. Tom Molnar started K1, and he now owns this company, but I still think the K1 stuff is pretty good, but it's out of business, so I think they're just running out their stock, and then that's going to be it. So probably only going to be able to get Molnar stuff. Anyways, back to what I was going about with the rods. The sky's the limit. You can get whatever you want, but I like the Molnar stuff, and I'll show you why right now. So I have a Molnar rod here. This is an H-beam. As you can tell in the center, it's pretty thick. The beams are pretty thick, and also right here in the end, it's pretty thick. So just a good rod. They do come with ARP 2000s. And then over here, I have a Scat connecting rod, Chinese. I mean, you look at the beams, they're smaller. There's a lot more room to put my finger in there. So that means the center has less meat on the inside of it. And also this is thinner through this area as well. So definitely the Molnar is going to be a way stronger rod than the Scat. And there's a picture of the Scat on top and the Molnar below it. And you can see down where the bolt holes are, there's a lot more meat on the Molnar. Scat, you can get the ARP 2000s, but pretty sure all the rods are the same. They haven't, same thing with Eagle, they haven't changed their design in like 45 years. So obviously there's better stuff out there, and that's why I went with the Molnar. Piston pins, I guess we need to go over pistons first, but if you're going to buy pistons, the cheapest ones around are the Summit. Pretty much, you're not going to beat their price. 622 for the 2618 Pros. If you have a turbocharged thing, going to run 30 pounds of boost, 2618 is the way to go. They do have more piston to wall clearance than a 4032. If you're, cruising around on a street machine, I'd probably talk you into the 4032 Summits. You still have to buy rings. There's tons of rings out there. Obviously, if I was going to buy these pistons, then I would buy Summit's rings to go with them. Just these standard ones probably be completely fine. They're 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 millimeter. And then they have gas ports somewhere down here. Yeah, the GPX gas ports. Gas ports, what they do is they grab the ring and push it on the cylinder to keep, the combustion inside the cylinder. Moving on, we're going to try to talk about piston pins. I got a set of these Summit Pro LS pistons here, and this is a Wiseco pin. This is 200 wall. The reason for that is they claim that the pin will actually flex in the center and grab the piston, and it will explode, and you won't know why the engine blew up. So I think the factory pins are probably good for 1,000 horsepower. Anything over that, then I would upgrade to a 200 wall pin. Here's the Summit pistons. They do have oiling holes inside the piston pins, and they do have a pretty thick top land before it touches that ring. So yeah, that's pretty much it for that. We were talking rings, steel, gas ported, stainless steel, regular, just whatever you want to do. Usually stock crankshaft's good for 1,000 horsepower if it's in, something that's a lighter vehicle, like less than 4,000 pounds or 4,000 pounds. Anything over 1,000 horsepower, I would probably recommend getting a different crankshaft, a 4340. And then moving on to the heads, you have, these heads for your cathedral port. I think there's a 241, and I'm sure I'm missing some other numbers here, but then you have the LS3 style, which are 823s, and I'm sure there's other numbers for those as well. You can do whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. Obviously, the 823s will outflow the rest of these, and they're just a bigger valve. These other ones, the 243s and 799 have a 2-inch valve. The rest of these have 1.98 something or 95. So the sky's the limit depending on what you're doing, how many RPMs. 823s usually require a 3.9 bore. If you're going to run a lot of duration stuff on the cam, the valve will hit the cylinder. When should you change the heads? Probably 35 pounds of boost or so, 1,300 horsepower. I don't care what heads you usually have, they start moving around, so you need to go to a thicker head. Valve springs, everybody knows the PAC 1218s. They're okay. A lot of people ran them. Let's see, sorry. Trying to figure out. Valve springs. Oh yeah, sorry. I think I was at. No. I must have deleted the page or something because I had just had. Oh no, duh. I was stuck on the Molnar. Anyways, valve springs. They have Brian Tooley. 660 springs are good. Spring, the PACs obviously make a good spring. I think you should be in a dual spring if you're going to be turbocharged. For the price, BTR 660s, 239.98 shipped to your door. It gives you, they have a 400 psi open pressure and 155 on the seat. Just a nice piece for the money. Back to valves, stainless steel valves, when they should be ran, when you should run the stock ones. It just depends what you're doing. If you're running nitrous and stuff like that, you should probably definitely be in a stainless steel valve because they're going to take a lot more heat, a lot better. I've seen people have a lot of issues with 1,000 horsepower LS engines. The valve will deform and actually start to sink into the seat. So stainless steel valves are the way to go. And again, here in Powell, I think they're $110 or something like that for the intakes, and then $110 for the actual other exhaust valves. So yeah, here's a set of intakes for $110, and exhausts are $100 or something like that. So pretty cheap, pretty good deal. Camshafts, I like the sloppy stage 1, 216, 220, stage 1.5. It's pretty good all around cam. There's thousands of cams out there, millions of cams. Just depends on what you're doing. Call somebody that knows something. Danny Powell at Powell Machine definitely probably help you out, even if you don't buy a cam from him. Can probably steer you in the right direction. Bearings, high performance bearings should be used, if you're building a high performance engine. I like the different brands are King, ACL, Clevite, so on. I like the ACL bearings. Lifters, there's Gatorman's, Cam Motion. Same deal. You can look all over. I do not like LS7 lifters unless they are genuine LS7 lifters. If you go on Texas Speed site, they will show you LS7 lifters. The true GM LS7 lifters are $463, not $180. I will not use these. I've had tons of problems with them ticking and doing all sorts of stuff. But anyways, they have the caddy lifters. You have Gatorman lifters, drop-ins. I think they're like a GP 1012 part number. And then you also have the, what's the name of those other ones? Sorry, I had kind of a brain fart. I'm trying to Morel 7717s. These are a good lifter as well. These are the Gatormans that I picked because I've talked to tons of people and they say that these are actually better than the other ones are. They'll handle 420 open pressure and I don't know, whatever on the sea. If you go on their actual website, they'll tell you more information. Oil pump, I believe in high high volume oil pumps. A lot of other people do not. People have revved the stock oil pumps, tons and never had any issues. But that depends on your oil bearing clearance as well. So that goes to bearing clearances. If you have a loose bearing clearance, your oil pressure is going to be lower. You're creating a leak. What kind of oil pan you have, if you have trap doors on it, or so on and so forth. Mellings has really decent oil pumps. The factory oil pump, I think it's like a 355 Mellings is their high volume pump. That's really good. I have that on my truck. And then also you can use the DOD vehicles like the 6.2s or whatever. You can use those oil pumps on these motors. Usually what I do is I just overfill the oil pan. If it's stock truck, a quart, and you're usually okay. But that's just a way to fix the problems from it. Draining your oil system. You can go into the heads and port them to get the oil to come back down quicker. There's tons of little tricks. Timing chain, doesn't really matter. Like the Summit ones are the best ones in my opinion because they're just cheap and you can adjust them. Adjustable is nice, especially depending on what kind of cam you have and what you're doing. Push rods, anything that's bigger than stock. Obviously, people made 800 to 1,000 probably on stock ones, but if you're going to obviously make 1,000 plus, then buy a set of push rods. Head bolts, head studs. I'm a firm believer if you're going to spend the money, buy the 1/2-inch ones, and then have the block drilled out, or buy the Tick Performance plate and put the 1/2-inch ones in it. So sorry, I get kind of fast there. I do believe in checking your clearances, your bearing clearances with this tool, bore gauge, without plastic gauge, and then using a mic to check your crankshaft, and then obviously you use them both and then stick them inside and measure everything. You will, if you use this tool, this will put little scratches on your bearing, but it does not hurt the bearing. Those little scratches are just there. It's not like, oh my God, now my bearings are no good. There's tons of people doing that without any issues. Can run through some other brands of pistons. I don't know why this is all weird. Should just say pistons. So yeah, these are, doesn't tell me if they're LS or what they are. Site's kind of a little different than last time I was on it, but DSS makes good pistons. I like their design stuff. They probably are a little pricier. Icon is another brand that's really good, and these guys actually make pistons for Summit. The 4032s, and then I think Wiseco is making them for their 2618, like their Pro LSs are made by Wiseco. Still, the bottoms of these aren't super strong. Like if you look into Ross probably has the best piston, in my opinion. I mean, obviously there's Diamond, there's other really good brands out there, JE, but it all comes back to how much money you want to spend on the parts, So lifters, lifter trays, obviously replace your trays. Like I said, here's that Gatorman again. He doesn't really have a lot of information on it, but if you go on Gatorman's website, it's got these oiling holes for these, and then it's got 4 oiling holes here versus the 1 from the factory or whatever. So I don't know. Hopefully they're good and they don't make a lot of noise like the LS7 style. Like I said, I don't like those unless they're an actual GM one that Texas Speed sells for $463. But if you're going to spend that much money, you might as well buy something better, like the caddy lifters or a better Morale or a tie bar from whoever, Can Motions or Johnson or wherever, Pretty much this video is just about, what kind of parts you should be looking for and where you should be finding them at, and, just make good decisions. I do have my crankshaft that I have for my motor is an LPC, Liberty Performance crankshafts. Pretty okay company, I guess. Some people say they're junk. Some people say they're fine. I don't know. But you have, like I said, Molnar, K1. All those companies are pretty decent. You got Scat, Eagle. I've been told by multiple engine guys to stay away from Eagle stuff. Like I said, do what you want to do. It's your money. But as far as I'm concerned, the Molnar guys make really good rods and really good cranks. So if I had stuff to do over, I would probably have a Molnar crank sitting here. So that's about it for the video. Thanks for